Hi, I'm Audra Dahl, a God-loving woman who has a sense of humor that, well, let's face it, it gets a little off-kilter sometimes. Since 2017, I've been the director of Rush Creek Counseling Center, and I firmly believe we have the best team of counselors. I'm lucky enough to be able to sit down, usually at least once a month, with each of my counselors and talk about how life is going for them, how counseling is going for them. It's kind of a mentoring time, but it's also a time that I just get so edified by my conversations with them. As counselors, we're always learning. We read books, we go to workshops, we go to trainings, we go to conferences. We're always learning. And so when I have these conversations with my counselors and with friends too, I love learning from them. And it was after one particular conversation that I thought, man, more people need to hear these conversations. And how can we do that? And somebody else said, and a couple of days later, we need to do a podcast. So isn't it amazing how God lines things up like this? We get an idea, somebody else comes back and says, hey, how do we make this idea for real? It's God lining things up, because I don't believe in coincidences. I believe in God incidences. So when things happen this way, I know that's God just talking and saying, let's do it. I decided to call this podcast This Side of the Couch, because as a counselor, so many times I see people nervously sitting across from me, especially the first couple of sessions, because they have no idea what it's like to enter onto this road of healing. And it's a scary thing. What's it like to sit across from somebody that you barely know and open up your heart to them? Tell them your deepest, darkest secret. That's scary stuff. It's scary not knowing what the journey to healing looks like. It's scary stuff to think about, I got to bring forth all of these things that I just want so desperately to go away and not have to think about. The clients who take on this journey, they're just so brave. They're so courageous. And so I tell them, as I look at them and they're just so nervous, and I say, I get it. I know what it's like on that side of the couch, because I've been there too. I used to work in the engineering drafting field. It was my first job actually in high school, was drafting for an engineering company. I loved it because it was artistic and it was not minimum wage. I made a good amount of money, even way back then. I did that job for about 10 years until computer-aided drafting came in, and I learned how to do it. I was trained in it and could do it actually pretty well. I just got no satisfaction out of it. There was nothing artistic in it. After all, anybody can make something look good with a computer. When I had children, I decided I wanted to stay home with them and do the things that stay-at-home moms do, which is sometimes a little bit like beating your head against a wall, and sometimes it's a whole lot of great fun. But it left me in an interesting place that when my kids were old enough to go to school and didn't need a stay-at-home mom at home all the time, I was like, what am I going to do? And so I was left in my early 30s with not knowing what I want to be when I grow up. And then God stepped in like he has so many times. And he's like, well, Audra, why don't you be a counselor? And I thought, shoot, here I am. I went from somebody who loves engineering because I don't have to talk to anybody all day to somebody who is actually enjoying talking to people. So I followed his leading, and I enrolled in school in the year 2000. And just 8 short years later, part-time years later, I finished my 2 degrees and finished the big giant test to be a professional counselor. And I've been counseling ever since. I love it. I get a lot of questions of, how do you do that work? How do you sit there all day and hear all of the problems and how all the ways that people treat each other so terribly in this world? And it's true, I do hear all of that. But I tell you what I focus more on is, how is God moving in all of these ways? How is God going to redeem this situation? And I focus on the progress, not the problem with the client. It's so incredibly rewarding to see people step onto that path of healing and take that journey in such a brave and courageous way. I'm just in awe, and I'm always honored to be on that journey with them. This podcast is for those who have sat on this side of the couch as a counselor, who've sat on that side of the couch as a client. But it's also for all of those people who've ever just sat on the couch with a friend, had a nice cold drink, a blanket, and just had a really great conversation. I hope you enjoy these conversations equally.